So I'm Lizzie Barber. I'm the Senior Product Manager responsible for our flagship product, which is the Engage Virgin Pulse Health and Wellbeing product. I have the honor today of introducing Joe Burton, who is the founder and CEO of Whil Concepts Incorporated. How many of you had the opportunity to participate in the yoga and the meditation training this morning? Yes, that was a great way to start off our day. So you met Joe this morning. For those of you who haven't, Joe is an entrepreneur in scientific well-being. He's the former president of Headspace, the very popular meditation app, and a 15-year global COO veteran in public companies. Joe discovered mindfulness as a super stressed executive after dismissing it as definitely not for me, and it changed his life. He'll talk a little bit more about his approach and entrance into mindfulness in his talk. This led him to found Whil, which is a digital training platform helping employees to reduce stress, increase resiliency, improve sleep and performance. We at Virgin Pulse are very excited to be partnering with Whil to offer a seamless integration of their mindfulness training programs into the Virgin Pulse platform to help employees lead healthier, happier, and more engaged lives. So here's Joe.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. I'm incredibly excited to be here. Let the record show, standing room only. Unbelievable. Yeah, for those of you that came out to yoga and meditation this morning, thank you very much. That was a lot of fun. I led a mindfulness practice this morning on open awareness. And a few days ago, I was asked, like, oh, would you mind leading the yoga as well? And so many people were this close to having like a dad bod after my yoga sessions. Yeah, it would have been something like, all right, stretch it out. You can do it. The event's going incredibly well. I'm impressed with the lineup that Virgin Pulse has put together, and we are so excited to be a partner with Virgin Pulse. So quick overview on what Whil does. We have a digital training platform for mindfulness, resiliency training, emotional intelligence. We got about 120 sessions of yoga as well. The world and the pace of business is going so fast these days that it's burning people out. So before we get into mindfulness as a competitive advantage, I want to talk a little bit about what's going on in, just keep talking. So, wouldn't it have been hilarious if I lost my shit right there? That'd have been like, that'd have been like, oh. So before we jump into mindfulness as the foundation of emotional intelligence, I want to talk a little bit about stress and what's going on these days. And so first, let's talk about when we recruit someone, like the first day they come into the company. Do we have a timer, by the way? Is there? I don't see a timer. Okay, great. Let me know. When we recruit someone, you know, imagine, just flashback to when you were recruited into your company, right? And this still happens today, and you might even help with this today, right? What's that storyline? The CEO is amazing. Oh my gosh, you're gonna love the offices, they're incredible. The company's mission is the best, it's the best mission. And the snacks, oh my God, the snacks, off the hook, it's incredible, right? You can almost see Bambi dancing through the woods, butterflies, birds chirping. It's amazing, right? But the reality is when people show up to work, it's a little bit different. Pause for laughter. What we're inviting people into more and more these days is a storyline that goes more like this. Welcome to the company. We deal with constant disruption, innovation, transformation, digitization. You're our most important asset. Employees, you're our most important asset. Who agrees with that statement? Yeah? You're our most important. Only half the room. This is a tough audience. You're our third most important asset. Welcome to the company. You're our most important asset. By the way, 90% of us are looking into offshoring as the biggest way to reduce costs, right? We're all looking into robotics. The World Economic Forum estimates in the US we'll lose 10 million jobs in the next 5 years. 10 million jobs in the next 5 years. We're all looking into artificial intelligence. Don't worry about that, right? It's amazing. Did I tell you about the snacks? right? So we're expecting people to come in and deal with a constant onslaught and a pace of business that's really tough to keep up with, right? You remember Bambi dancing through the woods. You know, the reality is every now and then there's a forest fire. You know what happens next. Yeah, Bambi's mom gets shot. Thanks for that. What a downer. Come on. So this is what's leading into this $300 billion number that we all talk so much about, right? Stress, $300 billion cost. But if you step away from just the cost of that, and we know businesses are dealing with increased absenteeism, increased turnover, skyrocketing cost of healthcare, and so forth, what's the individual employee dealing with, right? They're dealing with a relentless pace of business, constant disruption. All of our industries are changing rapidly, right? They're dealing with, does my boss treat me well? Do I like it here? Do we live up to the company's mission? Okay? And this stress, fatigue, and burnout is impacting employees in a pretty big way. 83% of employees say work's our biggest source of stress, right? We get that. That's probably not that surprising. 50% of people report high to extreme stress, extreme meaning they can't cope. A third of us suffer from insomnia, right? On top of that, when you look at errors in the workplace and injuries in the workplace, 91% are due to human error, meaning people don't focus and bad things happen, okay? So let's get to know, like, in terms of how things are impacting people in this room, let's get to know each other a little bit. How many folks here are suffering from back pain? Okay. Insomnia. How many people are suffering from stress? Annoying coworkers. That one's always easier to admit, right? Some of you are like laughing slowly, like. So it's taking a toll on all of us, and when you think about what happens with the individual employee and how they're impacted and how we're all impacted, we wake up every day and we take that into the office with us, right? So for anyone who's dealt with insomnia, back pain, ongoing stress, what happens? You're pretty grumpy, right? You're not much fun to be around, right? And we let these things go on for years without dealing with them. So it's impacting not only the individuals, not only employees, but it's impacting corporate culture. How it's impacting business, the average turnover rate in the US reached 46% last year. 46. So half of all employees leave. For those of you in retail, you're sitting there thinking, I wish ours was only 46, right? Almost half of people leave their job due to stress. 70% aren't engaged at work. A third of employees are intentionally not engaged, meaning they plan on not working. They come in, they're just like, they ain't checking, I ain't saying, right? And so this is what we're dealing with in the workplace. And if you think about it, what it's like now, fast forward 15 years from now, right? These bad boys are the best stress delivery mechanisms ever invented, right? What happens every year? They get faster, they get cheaper, stronger, right? The problem is the human brain hasn't changed much in about 3,000 years, right? So what all of the scientific research is telling us is we're not actually equipped for the pace of modern living, okay? And it's picking up, it's getting faster. So we have to equip employees with the kind of skills that they can actually be resilient in the face of ongoing disruption. It's not going to slow down. The American Psychological Association came out with a study last year on people reporting extreme stress. Extreme meaning I can't cope, okay? It jumped 35% in 2 years. So a quarter of us, from 18% to 24%, 35% jump in 2 years. Now, if left unchecked, this is expected to continue. So imagine 15 years from now, half the people you know can't cope. Half the people I already know can't cope, right? So again, the statistics are pretty alarming, and when you dig down, peel the onion back a little bit, it's like, well, what's troubling people? This is another study on stress in America. 30% jump in 1 year on people feeling nervous, anxious, clinically depressed, sad, and constantly worrying. The only good news out of this was people are just as angry as they've always been. steady anger. Some people were actually pissed off about that. We can do better. So the numbers are all going the wrong way. I want to do a little practice with you right now, just a mindfulness practice. And we're just going to take a moment or so. And then I want to check in on everything we're talking about. It's impacting culture, right? So we're going to lead up a 1-minute mindfulness practice on culture. So I invite you to be seated comfortably. Maybe put your feet on the ground. If you'd like to close your eyes, I invite you to close your eyes. Otherwise, feel free to just soften your gaze. Maybe look at the floor. We're going to take a deep breath in and release. And another deep breath and release. And for the next 3, I'd like you to just hold it longer than you would hold a normal breath. And you can do this at your own pace. Fill those lungs all the way. Empty those lungs all the way. Now, when you notice yourself distracted, I want to invite you to come back to your breath. This is our sole point of focus. Nothing else is happening except to focus on our breath. And one more deep breath in and release. And now before you open your eyes, I want you to bring one word to mind. One word that describes your company culture. Now, for some of us, a whole TV show just kicked off. But I want to ask you to come to one point of focus, one word that describes your company culture. Now, I invite you to open your eyes, come back to the room. And I'm going to invite you to turn to the person next to you and just share that word. You might want to do it softly. You might want to turn the opposite direction, depending on who you're sitting with, right? Just take a moment and share that word. What was your word? We're going to get ready for the video. Huh? Happiness, chill, calm. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen. Hey everyone. I'm going to invite you to come back. Holy crap. That was like the longest one word ever. So, if you could cue up the video, with everything we're talking about, the pace of life, here's the one word that a lot of employees are experiencing these days.
Oh, fuck!
I can't believe you guys left that in. So, kidding aside, this is kind of what the work experience feels like sometimes, right? Particularly when you get caught in a rut with all that's going on, right? Culture is probably the biggest reason that some of the biggest companies in the world are embracing mindfulness and emotional intelligence skills, right? We have a crisis on our hands, and that crisis is not just faster, cheaper. It is faster, cheaper, and how are we treating our employees, right? How are we creating teams? How are we developing the leaders of the future? And so oftentimes I'll speak to people and they'll be like, oh, this is a like Silicon Valley thing or some hippy-dippy thing or da-da. No. The top companies in the world, the old economy, the Walmarts, the GMs, the Fords, Targets, the new economy, Salesforce, LinkedIn, Facebook, Google, are embracing these because they understand to maintain the level of effort, the level of productivity that we're expecting in the world, people need to be able to cope in the face of ongoing disruption, okay? And so What is mindfulness training? How many people have are in a mindfulness practice or have tried mindfulness meditation before? Okay, great. So I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. This is an informed audience. So when it comes to mindfulness training, what we're talking about is the skills to learn to calm and focus the mind, relax the central nervous system, be present, right? That's in your relationships, that's in the work you're doing. The reason mindfulness has become so popular around the world, there's a new business book literally every other week. It's been on the cover of every magazine from Vogue to Wired. It's on the cover of every magazine. Time did a special edition on mindfulness this past year, and they called us one of the 4 apps changing the world, which is pretty cool. Every major sports team is incorporating mindfulness into their athletic training. The last 3 winners of the Super Bowl, the World Series, and the NBA championship all practice mindfulness because they want their athletes to be cool and calm and perform under pressure, right? Does that sound familiar? A lot of our clients refer to their employees as like, corporate warriors, corporate athletes. We all have to be calm under pressure these days. By the way, any Warriors fans in the audience? Cavaliers fans? So it's like 10 to 1. They both practice mindfulness. We'll see what's going on there. Any Patriots fans in the audience? See, now we have to, this is a little bit unfair. Any Patriots fans who don't work for Virgin Pulse based in Boston? Okay, there are others? Okay, great. The Patriots practice mindfulness, right? Did you know Tom Brady's been meditating for years? Yeah? Did you know when he meditates, he needs a little less air than anyone else? This started so friendly. But we're talking about emotional intelligence skills, so I'm going to mess with your emotions as we go, and then we'll calm them down. I'm sorry about that. I really did mean it. So the other reason it's become so popular is there are over 8,000 studies on the health and performance benefits of mindfulness, right? Every major healthcare organization, payer, provider, every major university is focused on the benefits of this. So at Whil, we have a program that integrates deeply into the Virgin Pulse platform. And we've really come at this from a common sense perspective. And I'll talk a little bit about my prior life, but I was a global COO of a 50,000 person division of a public company, right? Super type A personality, struggled with chronic back pain for about 5 years. My doctor would recommend, I want you to try meditation, and that would make me really angry. So we've created our programs based in common sense. Every single company we talk to wants faster, cheaper. That's table stakes. It's the way of the world. We get that. Employees aren't looking for that, but they know they have to deliver it. We deliver programs with names that are sort of common sense, 5 days, bite-sized chunks, 5 or 10 minutes a day, okay? With names like be a better leader, be confident and creative, understand your emotions, be tolerant and accepting, calm anxiety, overcome conflict, reduce daily stress, right? So we've got about 200 of these. We're in 4 NIH-funded trials, so clinical research, clinical evidence is really important to us. We're working with the folks at UCLA on a program around young adults recovering from cancer at the moment. We're really proud of being involved with that. When we think about how mindfulness training works, and those of you that have given it a try, you know what we're talking about really is brain training, right? The brain is like any other muscle in the body, use it or lose it. There's a right way to exercise it, there's a wrong way to exercise it. We've all been taught the wrong way to exercise our brains, believe it or not. We're exercising our brains all the time. We're training our brains every day. What do we train them on? We become experts on grief, anxiety, regret, conspiracy theories, Facebook, Twitter, right? Escapism. The practices that we're talking about here are really recognizing how does the brain work, okay? So this is a study that comes out of Harvard. If you take those 8,000 studies I mentioned earlier, this one will tell you all you need to know. I also like, this is my favorite, comes out of Harvard, because every time I say Harvard, it makes me sound smart. So this one's from Harvard. But in their research, they estimate the average person spends about half their time with the mind wandering. So what does that mean? Worrying about the future, worrying about the past, regret, anxiety, is my boss out to get me? They estimate we spend another 20% of our time in distracted awareness, where we're kind of listening, but not really. How many people are married here? You might be familiar with this state. And then we cycle through something called sustained attention, where our thinking brain, the prefrontal cortex, is actually focused on what we're doing in the moment, right? And so what we're doing is training the skills to be able to do this more regularly, okay? Within our products, there are dozens and dozens of techniques. You can make almost anything the point of your attention. When it comes to mindfulness training, whether it's your breath, a pressure point in your body, your heartbeat, right? Just focusing on one thing for an extended period of time, noticing when you're distracted, and then coming back to a point of focus, right? What we're doing is building muscle memory. We're actually training the brain to create neural pathways to focus. In the absence of doing that, we actually create neural pathways to make ourselves terrible at focusing. Or worse, we train ourselves to be really good at the wrong things. So for all you folks that raised your hand when I said insomnia, when you go to bed at night, the moment your head hits that pillow, your brain says, I'm now in position to worry. And you get so good to the point where you wear yourself out night in, night out, then you wake up in the middle of the night, do it again, right? We're actually training our brain to behave in a certain way. So that's what mindfulness is doing for us, is actually training us to think and behave in the right way, right? Small chunks of exercise for the mind. The competitive advantage of this is really increasing all of these emotional intelligence skills, which we'll talk about later, but also sort of a reset on how do you want to be as a leader versus how are you currently as a leader. So the benefits of mindfulness, and again, this is the foundational aspects of emotional intelligence. We cover health, performance, relationships, sleep, well-being, and leadership within the Whil platform. We've also recently added careers. So we're coming out in collaboration with Virgin Pulse, career training. So specific 4-week programs for salespeople, for people that work in marketing, and so on and so forth. We've got a great program coming out for doctors and nurses around compassion fatigue. So we're really focused on what do people really need to relate specifically to their circumstances. And depending upon your career, what the research tells us is you have a very specific type of repetitive stress. Right? And so we're coming out with additional programs to deal with that repetitive stress. The entire market is moving from just wellness to also well-being and performance. This is a study that came out from Burson by Deloitte. I was at their Impact event just last week. They do phenomenal research. We were talking with Virgin Pulse around, what do you guys cover? What did we cover? In blue is what we cover together. Right? In terms of, it's so good I wrote a song about it. This is happening, man. This is going better than expected. And so, did that go blue? It did. Okay, great. So, covering all aspects of an employee's well-being, but also the expectation of performance, right? That exists for every one of our customers. The research, and by the way, I think everyone is going to have access to this. We have links to all of the research. So we don't talk about anything unless we share the research. We don't create programs unless we identify the research. Improvements in mental well-being, people with insomnia sleeping longer, improvements in cardiovascular health, improvement getting ill less often. When people are stressed, they actually age faster, right? So they've done studies that show people in a mindfulness practice can actually reduce their aging at a cellular level, okay? Now, we all know this to be true because we have Facebook. And if you look back at your friends from high school and you're like, damn, some of them ain't looking so good. That's stress, right? And then there's us. We look good. We look good. So, and from a company culture perspective, decreases in absenteeism, reductions in cost due to employee turnover. Aetna's even come out with studies where they estimate they save an average of $2,000 per person who's gone through mindfulness training, and they've significantly increased productivity. We have a link here to that white paper, which is also very interesting. This is a case study on one of the global fashion retailers we work with. So 6 countries, 64 locations. They saw over a 12-month period, a 2-day decrease in absenteeism per people going through training, a decrease in turnover, increase in employee satisfaction scores, and so forth. When people feel better, they're happier, and they're in control of their emotions, right? Everything's a little better, including work. So our focus here in working with Virgin Pulse is, within this deep integration, is moving from what's become ordinary, right, which is the culture's not great, we're stressed out, we're overwhelmed, we don't treat each other well, to something different, right? So that's it on mindfulness. Let's do a tour. I'm so glad you asked. Can you pump up that disco music again? So I encourage you to come by our booth and check it out. Our first joint customer together is Intuit. Intuit, are you here? Sarah, we love you guys. All right. What we've done is we've taken our 200 training programs, we've laid them out to map perfectly to the Virgin Pulse experience, right? So it's a seamless experience for employees. What I'm showing you right now is the Whil experience. So as I come in, this is my training page. This little skipping thing is our technology. It's not our product, I assure you. So here I am. I can start training. Right now I'm working on Mindfulness 101. I can click through and I can see what's included in this program. So there's an introduction, and then there are 7 days to get started on learning about mindfulness. So I'm just going to play the introduction video to give you a quick sense.
Welcome to the Essentials series. In this series, we'll cover the fundamentals of meditation. Whether you're new to mindfulness or a seasoned practitioner, this series provides an overview of the practice. The many benefits to practicing mindfulness include decreased stress and an increased immune system response. You may be looking for relief from insomnia, troubling thought patterns, or anxiety. You may want to improve your relationships, or maybe you just want to have more calm and relaxation in your life. Whatever brings you here in this moment, that is what is most important. Regardless of what you want to accomplish, you'll find meditation as a way to unplug and recharge. As we begin to meditate, we are developing concentration, an ability to hold attention on an object, such as the breath, for an extended period of time. We're also cultivating feelings of well-being and calm that help us better respond to the circumstances in our lives.
So each program kicks off with about a 1-minute video with an overview of what is this program about and why should you care. We then go into a mindfulness meditation practice, and I'll just play a few seconds of this first one in Mindfulness 101 to give you a sense.
Hi, and welcome to Whil. First, we'll start by focusing on the breath as a form of attention training. We're training our brains all the time. We can strengthen neural pathways so our brains improve at repeating behaviors, just like building muscle memory.
So in this case, Mark Coleman's going to take the user through a practice. I had it marked for 5 minutes. I can mark it for 1 minute, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. It's all based around how much time I have. When I go back to my homepage, I can see what my training history is. I can pick up anywhere I left off on things like anger management. I don't really need that. I mean, this is just a demo. Laura on my team is in the back laughing. Transform difficult emotions, self-awareness, etc. I have my favorite sessions. And then I have my goals: be inspired and engaged, build confidence, improve difficult relationships. And I set goals, and it tells me exactly what programs to do. And so if I go in and set a goal, for example, I can go in and say, great, these are my goals. I've got improved difficult relationships, lead under pressure, manage insomnia, and so forth. They're all waiting for me on my homepage. I can go in and explore and look around our collections. So we have dozens and dozens of training programs, a mixture of video and audio, bite-sized chunks, this is micro-learning, around emotions, physical health and sports, performance, relationships, self-image, sleep, 1-minute meditations. Okay? We also have a feature called Willpower, where you go in and you say how much time you have. So let's say I have 5 minutes and to relieve stress. We say, great, here are a bunch of programs you can do. Let's say that I want to go and calm the mind. I'm in the session, and it starts automatically.
To the calm mind session.
If I like where that came from, I can go and look, okay, that's in the Be Confident and Creative series, so I can jump to there. Likewise, I can go and say, let's say I've got 10 minutes, and I want to boost something like confidence. We list out the right sessions for you in the moment. We have over 1,300 individual training sessions. So the more someone is training, the more we get to learn what they need, what they like, and they're rating things along the way. And so we can recommend the right things. Now, something we're doing that's really special, we can go back to the training program, please. Something we're doing really special with Virgin Pulse is we're actually linking our programs into the data that they already have. So when it comes to health risk assessments, biometrics, wearable data, we can make the right recommendations for the individual, right? So our friends from Fitbit here, they're not, okay? So when your Fitbit tells you your sleep is bad tonight and tomorrow night and the next night, Virgin Pulse will be able to serve up, hey, here's a program to try to help your sleep, right? So we're very interested in assessing what's going on, prescribing the right solution, and then recommending the right training. Now, when it comes to emotional intelligence skills, this is the hottest topic in the corporate world right now, right? And the reason for this is smart people, like IQ, is expected, right? So how many people here target dumb people when you're out recruiting? No, seriously, if you could get a discount, how many would target dumb people? No, not many, right? Everyone is expected to be intelligent, right? And if you don't know what you're talking about, you should know how to use Google, right? You can get up to speed pretty quick on almost anything. Emotional intelligence skills, the ability to connect, lead, motivate, inspire, listen, are in short supply and high demand. So we expect people to show up like this at work every day, right? Calm, cool, collected, great hair. Like, what's up? Right, ready to roll, okay? The force is strong in this one. I used to say that like Yoda, and it's terrible. The problem is we say, hey, Luke, welcome to work, man. We're working this week. It's disruption, it's innovation, it's transformation. We're going to be doing some offshoring, robotics, AI, super hot, man. So after like a few months, people show up and they're just like, man, get out of my face. This is hard, right? And this is a problem. So all the statistics are telling us people are burning out earlier in their careers because of the pace. They also don't have the coping skills to deal with disruption. Disruption is the norm, okay? In my career, about 6 years ago, I was the global COO of a 50,000 person division of a public company, okay? I was in my dream job, making more money than I thought I ever would, right? Now, I'm a guy who's like, I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, go Steelers. Thank you. Mom. The youngest of 6, right? My father was an unemployable alcoholic, right? So growing up at an early age, we had a tense situation in the house, right? Issues with drugs, issues with alcohol, occasional issues with violence. And as a young kid, we start to develop skills. We actually start to train the brain, right? And I went into, like, the first person in my family to go to college, and I went into college and I went into the workforce with, like, I want to win, I want to beat people, I'm better than this, right? And so I took that into a very successful career to get to where I was. And along the way, I herniated 2 discs in my back. I traveled 70% of the time. I worked 14-hour days as a badge of honor. Back pain turned into insomnia. Insomnia turned into asthma. So I'm in my early 40s and my body's falling apart, right? Beginnings of dad bod, which I only just heard yesterday. At the same time, I'm going through all of this pain and disruption. I lost an older sister to drugs, okay? She was 45. A year later, I lost my twin sister to suicide, also a long-term addict. So here I am in this dream job, showing up every day with all of that stuff going on within my family, and didn't have the skills to really cope and thrive in what I was doing. But I was rewarded for showing up and winning, right? And pushing the boundaries and actually not making too many friends, right? So I was showing up as this guy. We're all dealing with things like this. Our employees are dealing with things like this. It is the norm, right? We need to equip them with the skills to be able to go through loss and grief and regret and anxiety and insomnia and back pain, right? So they can actually be emotionally intelligent, smart about managing their emotions. So within the training that we have, and I think we've got 10 more minutes. Did we want to save time for questions? We did? Okay, great. So more and more of our clients use this term VUCA. Like, it's a VUCA world. It's a military term. It means volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. This is what we expect our employees to deal with day in and day out. The problem with this is without the right skills, like on the subway in the morning to and from the Death Star, man, stuff gets heavy, right? And if you're a leader, in addition to dealing with all this stuff, it can be a very lonely experience, right? You can feel disconnected from your team. So this is happening more and more. Gary Hamel wrote a book called What Matters Now, and in that he pointed out the world's becoming more turbulent faster than most organizations are becoming resilient. Does this resonate with anyone? Like, who feels that? Yeah, I feel that. So in terms of what am I supposed to do with this, or what our employees are supposed to do with this idea of emotional intelligence is really about tapping into the ability to monitor our own emotions and feelings and the emotions and feelings of other people, to discriminate between the two, right? And to use that information to guide one's thinking and actions. Now, this is a little different because we operate in teams, right? It's like somebody gets fired up and upset and angry. It's like, I want to join in on that. Yeah, let's go. Emotional intelligence is the opposite of that. We cover within our lead training collection topics around from Dan Goleman's famous research, emotional intelligence, on self-awareness, self-regulation, the ability to control your emotions, empathy, the ability to understand other people's emotions and perspectives while maintaining your own, motivation. Am I in the right job for me, and am I aligned with what I want to do in life? Am I in the right company? These are important things to ask as well. And social skills, understanding and connecting with other people as a leader. So I'm going to skip through some of this, but you all have access, thanks to Virgin Pulse. I think everyone's going to walk out with a year free to our programs, which is pretty awesome. I think it might be some sort of marketing ploy to try to get you to buy something later. So what you'll experience is it's a personalized mental well-being training system. Every employee sets their own goals, creates their own journey, and then we can also introduce recommended programs from the employer, from the Virgin Pulse experience, and so forth. Everything we do is based in neuroscience, mindfulness, and positive psychology. We have, in addition to the 200 one-week training programs, it's over 1,250 audio and video sessions. Tremendous amount of variety, 20 different trainers. Everyone has world-class credentials. Okay? The integration into Virgin Pulse is something special, and that is officially launching, end of Q3? I think I heard July 15th. I'm pushing July 15th. And what you'll experience is our 4 training collections. You pick which one you like, and they're all mapped against the Virgin Pulse experience. So you can see within our mental well-being, mental well-being, sleep, and mindfulness program, which we call Thrive, is 82 programs mapped across the Virgin Pulse experience. The program we call LEAD is a collection all around emotional intelligence, the stuff I've been talking about here. We developed that in collaboration with the folks at Google's famous Search Inside Yourself Leadership Institute. It's amazing training. We have a yoga program, 120 sessions that we make free to our customers. And then we have a program for dependence. More and more of our clients want to help stress at home, right? Happiness begins at home, but so does stress. So this is 54 programs for teenagers. We did that in collaboration with Holistic Life Foundation and IBM. They're the 2 leading organizations taking mindfulness into schools in the US. Okay? So if you'd like to take a picture of that, you can go to that URL and get access to our programs. And thanks again to Virgin Pulse for providing this to everyone. It's the best way to experience what we're up to. If you're new to mindfulness, start with our sleep training. It's amazing. Start with Mindfulness 101. It's really good. We've got stuff in there for back pain, anxiety, really you name it. Go in and set a goal and get started. And then the other thing we're super excited about is we're kicking off a Mindful Leader training tour. So the first 5 dates have been set. We're doing this in collaboration with Virgin Pulse. And this goes through a deep dive of a day-long training, qualifies for CE credit. We're, I think, the only player in this space that is authorized. We're certified to provide ongoing CE credit for both SHRM and HRCI. So come out to that, and then we do monthly webinars as well on topics like self-awareness, emotional intelligence, the science of mindfulness, and you name it. So I'm going to stop there, and I think we have 5 minutes for any questions.
If anyone has any questions, is it 2? So one right here.
Goodness gracious. My question is, the programs that will be integrating with Virgin Pulse on July 15th or Q3, are those added costs to Virgin Pulse subscriber companies? Yes.
They are.
Okay.
Yeah, and roughly speaking, it's about a third of the price of Virgin Pulse.
Okay. So we do have freemium offerings that are so it's a very small selection of 7 videos under lead, what is it, Move and Grow,
Yep, so we have Mindfulness 101, we provide on a freemium basis, Yoga 101 and Lead 101. We provide all of those as, sort of foundational elements.
Hi, I currently work for a wellness vendor, and we're actually looking to add on a mindfulness platform. And one struggle that we're finding is that we're looking for a product that reaches our manufacturing type groups. I know that you have like Ford and GE, but do you see a discrepancy in utilization rates between the office settings compared to manufacturing? Is it a drastic discrepancy?
No, it's not. What we find is it's really important about how you roll it out. And so we find different organizations have a different way of, we want to speak to employees in a different way about what the training is, right? So for example, we work with technology vendors. They're very interested in the science, what other top tech companies are doing this kind of stuff. We talk to shift workers, manufacturing, automotive. They're much more interested in common sense things like, what do you got for back pain? I can't sleep, right? And so when we launch campaigns, we'll usually have a monthly marketing campaign that talks about common sense things. We never talk to people about meditation. I mean, if you're in front of 1,000 people and you're like, hey, who wants to meditate? It's like nothing, right? We lightly talk about mindfulness. We always talk about the things people want: sleep, managing pain, stress, anxiety, right? Help with the things they're all going through, right? So that's the kind of language you use. We also find in those kind of environments, they're very interested in like, oh, my favorite athletes are doing this stuff. That's kind of cool.
We have a question in front.
I've never seen one of these before.
Is it really a microphone?
Mm-hmm.
It is. Do you do webinars in-person seminars for like law firms with lawyers doing CEU credits? Would you do specialized, customized programming?
We do. We have partners that do a lot of the live training.
Yeah.
So we'll do larger events, but our specialty is really on digital launch and scale, and really in this context, integrating into Virgin Pulse. Yeah. The other thing we find is that law firms are like super low stress. Do they really need this?
Well, the alcohol bill's pretty high.
Yeah, exactly. How many people use alcohol to deal with stress? Okay, that's not mindfulness. That's alcoholism. So I say that lovingly and without judgment.
All right, I think we have time for one more.
Because you jokingly referred to using or not using the word meditation, I have a question for you. Semantics is a pet peeve of mine. So it's inclusion now and not diversity, and it's well-being and not wellness, and we're even displacing colors. Orange is the new black. So can you, as an expert in the field, can you explain to me in your mind the difference between mindfulness and meditation? And when our employees ask us, is this a meditation session or is this a mindfulness session? what is the correct answer?
Absolutely. So meditation is the practice of calming and focusing the mind, right? The practice of focusing on an individual object, right, whether your breath or something else, to train attention. Mindfulness is the day-to-day application of the skills that we're talking about. So being not only focused, but kind, connected, empathetic, compassionate, developing skills like mindful listening, empathetic listening, developing skills to control your emotions in different settings. So oftentimes people will think like, oh, I meditate and that's my only piece during the day, right? And they're kind of missing the point. That's practice. The other 24 hours of your day is game time, okay? And that's where mindfulness comes in, right? Can I be present and aware throughout the course of the day to use the skills that I'm learning? And within Whil, every single program we have, you're too kind. Every single program we have is active. So you're learning skills and there's an encouragement. Take this into your day today. Transform your relationships. So meditation is one form of practice, and mindfulness is sort of the umbrella of living a more healthy lifestyle for your own mental and emotional well-being. Okay? I think that's it. We can totally outclap these guys. Let's do this. Thank you so much.